Hello, everyone. Sabia here from Asmara Belly Dance Initiative, bringing you Community Thursday. Today we have Aisha with us from Charlotte, North Carolina. Super excited that she's joining us. So we're going to just jump into our questions. I wanted to ask you first, what style of belly dance do you do?
So hey everyone, I'm Asia, super excited to be on Community Thursdays. So my style of belly dance, I guess kind of like classic Egyptian style, well, probably with some modern influences, but these days I really do like dancing like the stars of like 20th century, like Egypt, like that's been my jam lately.
I'm a sucker for Egyptian style, so that always makes me happy. So I know that you not only have done like your formal training in the dance world, but you also have a degree in dance education, which is really cool. So I wanted to ask you about how that's kind of impacted you as a dancer in the belly dance community, because that's not as common for us.
Yeah, so I don't have it yet. I'm halfway through. Um, but yes, I my degree is going to give me licensure to teach dance in public schools, so K through 12. So the actual like education part is really focused on public schools, but what I feel that is really like getting my brain going about belly dance are my technique classes and my kind of dance history, anatomy, like those types of classes like that. And I'm finding that it's helping me in my like critical thinking about dance. I mean, because I'm studying as like an academic pursuit, so it's you're learning steps and like all these things, but you're also like have people that have been like doing this professionally for like years upon years and like helping you connect to your body deeper or explaining like the lineage of like modern dance. And that's actually like that seems like so random, but that is one thing that's helping me really think about belly dance and kind of unpacking because we're having a lot of conversations now about like what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, particularly like the whole question about like tribal, like that word. And like, I think we have pretty much agreed. But again, also like our social media feeds are so biased that we only see people who think like us. But like from what I've seen, like people are on the page that like tribal like isn't a good word, right? But like I kind of even am thinking a little bit beyond that. And not to say my opinion is like right or wrong, but like in modern dance, you have like Graham technique, you have Horton, you have Lamone, you have uh, Taylor, I think. So you have all these styles, and they're modern dance, but they're mostly known by like this is Graham. We're doing Graham technique, right? Um, and I wonder, and it's just a question. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do, right? But I wonder, like if in belly dance, particularly the styles that like have largely deviated from what is actually happening in the Middle East, for the styles that have largely deviated, is there another way that we can talk about them? Because I'm also coming to the question of whether belly dance is an appropriate term to use for both. Um, and this is like, these are just thoughts, like they're not judgments or anything, but that's just something like that's getting my brain going. And it's been really helpful being in the dance program, reading how people talk about dance, reading how people talk about lineages and how they came about. Um, and kind of even like my dance history classes too have kind of like um, as I'm trying to, as I think we're all trying to kind of think about belly dance history in a different way and think about what we're doing in a different way. It's really helping me uh, get to some of the questions that I've had, and helping me get to some answers because I've had some thoughts for a while, but like maybe I don't have the language, maybe I don't have this, but it's been really helpful in that way.
Those are great points you bring up, and I don't think you're alone in them. And even if you are, like it's still great to think about. Um, belly dance is like a very Americanized term
Mm-hmm.
for a wide variety of dances that we do from North Africa and the Middle East. Like that's the reality if we look at it historically. And when, because I've done some training in other genres as well, there is a lot more, well, I guess the best way to say it is there's a lot less of the blanket statement effect that's happening. Like there are
Mm-hmm.
definitely genres that lump things together, but we give a little more credit to the artist. We have a little bit more of like an academic historical background that we lay out. And I think dancers do that, but we still use this like lumped term. And we've had other people come on Community Thursdays and talk about that. I think who brought it up? Zara brought that up too. Like when I asked her what style of belly dance did you do, and she said, "Well, belly dance isn't really like, what is that?" But she's like, I use the term too because it's like the one that everyone is most comfortable with. Like we all use it, but kind of like we think about tribal. Will there come a point where we get away from that? Because although it's easier for us, is it really properly defining? I mean, we have
Mm-hmm.
Saidi, we have Rock Sharky, like they're different.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right.
there's a ton of them, like we could list them. So it is interesting how we like categorize our dances and how we name ourselves in belly dance. And
Right.
I felt the same way. Like I don't love the term as I've gotten more into studying dance, but I don't know how to get away from it. So I don't know. Maybe that's a conversation people need to start having though.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like how do we redefine what we're doing? It's particularly for people who are like trying to like teach and have people come to their classes and like all these other things. Like, are people gonna know what you're talking about if you call it something else other than belly dance? But then I also deal with the issue where I had to I had to really nicely like I want to say bless someone out, but I like oh God, yeah, because I was running this ad for my Sunday night my Sunday night classes, and I've run into this a few times where people will comment on my ads and like just act like I don't know what I'm doing. Now, obviously, these are people who like, if they've seen belly dance, it's been like some crazy viral video of like someone doing insane isolations or this or that. It's probably what they've seen. So like that's their idea of belly dance. And so people have come on my post before and have commented and said like, this is not really belly dance. What is she doing? She's this, she's that, whatever. So the most recent time someone did it, like, because I usually delete the comments, but this time I was just like, whatever. Like, and I wrote and I was like, again, I was not rude, but I was like, I need to take this moment to educate people like about belly dance. Like, I don't know where, you have this perception. I didn't say it like this. It was very polite. You can go read it. But like, we say belly dance, but belly dance is actually like in its origin, like it's a dance that doesn't require much belly movement. Like it doesn't. And so, I was like, this is based off at the base of it are like folk dance steps, like from the region. I said, and they don't really require the belly. I said, but I welcome you to come to my class and enjoy and see what I'm all about or whatever. But yeah, I'm like, ugh, the word belly. This is like a tangent now. It's not even the same question, but like,
I think it's like people saw that. What was it at the world? I guess the World's Fair is supposed to be kind of like the origin of the American belly
mm-hmm,
dancer, but yeah, like we don't just stand in one place and move our belly.
mm-hmm,
So, and they're like, yeah, it's frustrating. I think it's going to be this like game of playing like the people who need the market to teach to have their shows. All of us basically,
mm-hmm.
how do we move away from that terminology and not lose a base of customers who don't have a deeper understanding? And does it matter enough to where we need to? I don't know. Like, but yeah, I could see how that could happen. And
Mm-hmm.
kudos to you for handling it with grace. I think after a while, I probably would have gotten frustrated with that. I don't know if I would have been as graceful. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to belly dance than tummy flutters and undulations. They're awesome, but that's not
Yeah,
it.
but yeah, that's what I'm just like, the viral video they probably saw, like some drum solo, you know, where like everyone like pulls all their tricks out, which is like totally cool, but like there's only like you see like a fraction.
Yes, definitely. So another hot topic that I wanted to ask you about is colorism, which we deal with every day and everything. But how do you
Right.
feel it shows up in the belly dance community?
Yeah. Um, so like one thing that kind of came, well, there's a couple things that came to mind, but like one of them was like when you like see the flyers for like all the big shows that are happening or all the big events that are happening. Um, and I mean, like for like BIPOC people to be included in that, we already know is like skimpy opportunities. But then it's like, but people will choose artists from communities like that have a variety of range of skin tones, right? And but the ones that keep getting chosen are the ones that are closer in proximity to whiteness. No shade to people, because I'm not saying people don't deserve opportunities. And that's not what I'm saying whatsoever. But it's like, you know, looking at a flyer and see if you are darker skinned to see someone that looks like you, like is rare. Um, and I was thinking about this too in terms of like the various belly dance communities and like how I think it's even harder, and someone can disagree with me, feel free, but it's harder in I think the like traditional rock sharky community, um, if you are darker skin, than it is if you are fusion. I personally have seen a lot more representation of skin tones in fusion than I have in a rock sharky Egyptian style.
I definitely agree with you there. And yeah, definitely in fusion, I think it's more accepted. And even within the Black community, for those of us who, do feel like we get more opportunities, I have to say, as like somebody who's kind of in the middle, I don't really feel like I'm light skinned, but I'm right down the middle. I know some really amazing dark skinned dancers, and I don't, if they're not fusion dancers and they're not doing fusion, I don't really see them in the like regular circuit, in the big shows and the big festivals. And it's a problem. And I think that it's so multi-layered. Like I think that people of color, BIPOC folks, we need to have that conversation amongst ourselves. Like, not to say that white people don't need to hear it, but they can pay me for my time to talk about that. But within our own community, as Black people and as just BIPOC people, we have to acknowledge privilege too. And I'm just hoping that the more we talk about colorism, the more complex it can get, and it will go past like just looking at like white dancers versus non-white dancers, because even within ourselves we have colorism. And like you said, like the closer you are to whiteness, the more you're favored. But it's not just white people who have to unpack that, it's also lighter BIPOC people and lighter Black folks. Like we have to unpack that too.
Oh, for sure.
And like when we have our own shows or own productions, like am I like unconsciously or subconsciously leaning towards something that is more appeasing to people? But yeah, I don't know. I think I like that's something I've had to unpack as a dancer too, that like colorism is easy to talk about when it's just like Black, or not Black, sorry, white versus non-white, but then we have to get deeper and like dig into it. So I don't know. And outside of the fusion community, we got to work on that.
Yeah, it's I don't know where to start, but I mean, let me like comment. Yeah, I agree with you completely. Like, within our own communities, we have to have these conversations. Because too, I mean, but there's like, with all of these things, there's so much history, like so much history and so much tension and so much pain in the topics of colorism. Um, and, you know, everybody kind of like is impacted by it in some degree. And they're like, you're right, we have to make the space, but I can already feel it right now, like just talking to you right now about like everything that would like come up. It's necessary, but it's like, oh my God, when you said it, like it feels so palpable. Because like, you know, like racism and like white supremacy have really like done a number on people in like so many different ways. Um, and like within our own communities, like just the way that like certain people are favored because of proximity to whiteness, but it does to the whole community as a whole, how it can now I'm not the one to talk about like, oh, like unity, you know, like yes, we should be unity, but like I don't ever like want that to be like my first thing, like it's dividing us and we need to stick together, even though that is true. It is dividing us and we like do need to stick together, but we also need to acknowledge like the real ways in which like we perpetuate that harm amongst each other and like really like come to terms with it. Um, and as you like pledge to do better, like you said, like looking to see if there's like any unconscious whatever that's going on when you are doing something and putting on a show. My pencil dropped.
It's I think it's like it's a ongoing conversation. I don't think we can fix it with like one show or one discussion or booking one dancer, but we have to start like thinking about it like everything else we think about in our dancing and our decisions that we make. And hopefully we'll see some progress because it's so rooted in things that are completely unrelated to this dance, but we bring them with us. Like you bring everything to the table as an
Right.
artist when you
Right.
dance and when you engage. So speaking of like things that we do as artists, moving away from the heavier topics, tell us about your favorite dance production you've participated in.
Oh, okay. Well, this is like I feel like I don't know what to choose. Okay.
You can pick a few. Most people, like when I ask them this, they're like, "No, I need top three." Like, if you want to pick a few, you can tell us about a few.
Okay. 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 So back in the day, I did a lot of fusion stuff. Uh, back in the day, meaning like, what year is it? Oh, it's actually it was kind of back in the day. Maybe like 6 years ago, when I was living in New York, and I was going to a lot of classes at Belly Queen, and okay, there was this show called Divina Commedia, and two Italian dancers kind of created this concept. Francesca Pedretti, if I'm saying her name correctly, and Alice Giamperi. And so basically, it's like this journey through like Dante's Inferno. So there's a section of hell, there's a section of purgatory, and there's a section of heaven. And that was really cool because like it was a big stage show, and so it was just really great to be a part of that. And I hadn't been a part of like a big stage show like that in a while. Like I did little things in college where we were on stage and you know stuff, but like something like that was kind of regarded in professional quality. That was my first time, and first time I've ever made a costume on my own. And they're like, you need to sew it on. I'm like, hot glue? That's what I'm gonna do? I'm not sewing anything on. Oh my God. Even to this day, like I try to tell myself I'm gonna make some costumes, but I'm not, because I'm a hot gluer. I'm not a sewer. So yeah, that was really cool. And then another production that was really awesome. So Belly Queen did a not a tour, but like they have a show called Journey Along the Silk Road, and they were doing it in Milan. And so I decided to do that. And so like that was really cool because that was my first trip. That was my first trip out of the country, but it was my first trip like time like taking a like really long plane ride somewhere. Um, and like I had to cram all this choreography, and it was the first time I danced with a sword on my head, and like and then I had to perform it. And it didn't fall in my head. I was so excited. It was amazing. That was great. And then I guess the other one uh, that I performed in the first Harlem Hop Club, and that was really exciting. Well, like, first of all, I guess Brandy's vision of like bringing um Black artists and people of color like together and having their own show, like that was really great to be a part of. Um, and then it was awesome because like my dance was really well received, and sometimes it's like that's just great. Like my dance is really well received, oh my god, really well received. And this was at a time where I was in transition in my life, so I was about to leave New York and move back to North Carolina. Um, I had quit a job. Like my relationship had ended after like 7 years. Now that wasn't sad, but like it was still like new, newness. Um, it was just like a kind of a lot of like tumultuous endings as well that were happening around that time. And so it was nice to be in like such a beautiful space um, with incredible artists. And I did my solo piece. It was well received. I did a piece with Brandy and her troupe, and we did a wonderful Saidi piece that crowd like went crazy for it. And it was just nice to have like that validation because I knew too, like I love dancing, but I had things in my life like kind of really keep me away from doing it as much as I wanted to. So every time like I like stepped out and like did something um where I put my heart and soul into and is well received, it's like further validation. Like you feel this for a reason. Like things keep pulling you away, but know that this is like kind of somewhere you need to be.
That's great. I mean, all of those sound really exciting. But I'm all about like, especially when life can be tumultuous, like having like the ability to like get on stage and just like feel good, even if it's not complete healing, but feel like that
Mm,
temporary, validating, wonderful experience. Like everybody loves what you're doing. You love what you're doing. So I'm happy to hear that because that's,
yeah,
I don't know, human connection and dance is just something I don't get that anywhere else. It's really special
I
to
agree.
connect with your audience and when they love what you did and you put all that work into it. So that's cool. And I love balancing things on my head, but man, like if you get through a performance and you don't lose a sword or a tray, that's a win.
Right?
That's a win. That I mean, that sounds exciting. So that was in Italy.
It was
Oh,
in
cool.
2016. Yeah, summer.
Oh, hopefully we'll be able to travel again someday.
Someday.
So, with the new year, what are some of the goals you have as a dancer for 2021?
So, yeah, so this year I am first and foremost, I'm taking Arabic classes. I'm committing myself to one Arabic class a week. I took Arabic for a year when I was in college the first time, getting my first bachelor's degree. Um, yeah, I can't say I remember too much from that, other than like my name is, and it's me, Aisha, and like a couple other words and count to five. Like, but now I'm trying to like really commit myself to learning because, like, when I eventually am able to travel there, like, I want to be able to communicate. I want to be able to like use primary sources in my learning, like, and the primary sources are going to be in Arabic. They're not going to be in English, and I think that is kind of like an issue that we've had here is like things get lost in translation or get interpreted through this like Western lens, and so if I want to do the work to kind of like get away from that, I need to be able to look at things for myself. So I think studying in Arabic is important. I'm also trying to take classes with either people who have really heavily studied Egyptian style or people who are source dancers that do Egyptian style. So yeah, and I'm also kind of trying to redefine my curriculum that I teach. So one thing that I've realized is that a lot of my teaching comes from like, again, generic belly dance versus like specific. And so I've realized that like even when I'm thinking, I'm planning like what I'm teaching that day, and I'm like, you know what, like, because I actually kind of picked up a lot of Egyptian style on my own. I did go to class like when I started to exclusively do Egyptian style. Like I have no clue where that even came from, but I picked up a lot of stuff on my own. And what I've realized is that a lot of what I've been taught has been generic and hasn't been specific to this Egyptian style. So like when I'm trying to think about how to break it down and how to do this, like it's, I do it, but I'm realizing, I need to kind of like work with people who specifically do this so that I can like change my curriculum and change the way I teach to cater to what I really want to focus on myself and what I want to put out there for the world.
That's really cool. And I mean, I'm excited for you. I think that there's a lot of really great Egyptian teachers and artists out there. And I think the internet has opened up even more for us now that we can't travel. Like, I think we're connecting with even more artists. So like, feel free to dig through the Asmara community because they're definitely there, but it'll be good
Yes.
not only for like you to learn it, but I'm excited to hear that you'll also be like implementing it in your teaching, because a lot of Egyptian artists that we've spoken to, like that are over there and studying, and that's like, it's their culture, it's their dance. They're saying it, they feel like it's a dying art, that they don't see any Egyptians doing it, and they don't see really like organic Egyptian belly dance anymore. So I think a lot of us going back to the source is going to really help. And I think you speaking to primary sources is really important. I know that we might not all have the desire or capacity to like fluently speak Arabic, but learning enough to be able to communicate when you travel, but also like understand the music you're dancing to, not just the words, but the context is important. I think that that's something we all need to explore. Like, there are resources out there. There are free resources. You can be like snazzy and take a college class, but whatever level you're at, like it's something that's accessible to us. So we got to kind of think about like how do we want to spend our time in this dance? Like, it's fun to like do haflas and get paid and pay each other for awesome things, but like, what are we doing to like keep it going so that it looks, the what we're enjoying looking at and doing is still around in 20 years.
Right.
So that's cool. I'm excited about your dance goals. It makes me want to like reevaluate some of mine. That's cool. So is there anything else you want to share with the Asmara community that we haven't discussed?
Oh my gosh, is there? You know what? Yes. Okay. So I wrote this paper for my dance history class last semester, and I'm, fingers crossed, working to get it published this year. But what I want to share about that is like, when my research, I came across some really good articles. Like, people sitting down and looking at belly dance. Like, some people are belly dancers and they're looking at belly dance, but some people aren't, but they're looking at belly dance and what that means about Arab American identity, or what people think about like Arab people, or people exotifying themselves, or even like people who identify as Arab, them self-exotifying to fit this like this myth of what they think people here think of them. I read interesting articles about just kind of like the myth of how belly dance was started, like this ancient dance kind of thing that people talk about, and how like there isn't like much research to support that. And so there's like so many like good articles that I've come across, and I really want to like make that available. But I really encourage people, like, go on Google Scholar and just look up belly dance.
We would love,
And
Mara,
what
if
comes
you
up?
want to talk about that stuff and share those resources, you have our community to do it. So I'll just put
Okay.
that there.
Okay,
Like,
awesome.
yeah.
I
But
mean,
Google
like,
Scholar is a great resource for people who want to start digging. You're
yeah, I mean, it was just like kind of incredible. One article that I read about is a woman, she is Turkish, and I can't remember what like her academic area of focus was, but she was writing, and she was writing about gender in belly dance, and how like Western influence on like Turkish society is making it so that like male belly dancers are becoming obsolete, even though like, and it's like moving underground. I'm not going to butcher the article right now, but it was really interesting. And I'm like, God, like, I need more stuff like that for me, so I can like fully like I'm not going to fully understand, right? But like get out of like the mini circle that is like belly dancing, like on stages in front of like other like American belly dancers and like all this other stuff, like, which is super cool. Yes. But at the end of the day, we are talking about cultural dance. So like knowing more of those aspects, I think is just like really dope. So yeah, Google Scholar.
If people were to start looking that stuff up, and this is just coming from another researcher, what
Mm.
are some of the like key words you would recommend to kind of get towards, like, how did you get towards those articles when you looked them up?
Mm. I might have just typed in belly dance, but a lot,
I mean, no, it could have just
several
been
of the
belly dance.
articles
You know,
mentioned
sometimes
Orientalism
like,
as well.
yeah. So belly
Yeah.
dance, and I mean, so it came right up because I haven't actually tried it, so I don't know if it would
Yeah,
be.
well, I wasn't on the Google Scholar. I was on my university's like research search engine for articles. But my advice, generally speaking, you type in belly dance, look for things that are peer reviewed, because peer reviewed means that other scholars looked at it and like stuff. It's not the end all be all of like good scholarly writing, but it's like a little check box, to let you know you're getting something of kind of like a that's more reliable. Um, but I think searching belly dance Orientalism is a good place to start, to get some articles that talk about some good ideas. Yeah, I think that's it for now.
That's really helpful. Thank you. I think that a lot of people are going to be interested in digging into that. And I know we don't all have access to like the college access to the databases, but if you have Google Scholar, that's open to everyone. And like, I'll just say for myself, if you know me, I have access. I'm happy to like help you find articles if anyone's out there. So like tap your community, see what you can find online. But I think
Oh,
it is
yeah.
important to start like if this isn't just a hobby and you want to kind of dig into it and study it, like that's part of it too. So that's something that we haven't talked about yet. And I think that's a cool thing is like look at the research from psychology, anthropology, cultural
Mm,
research. Like there's stuff out there. So that's cool. Thanks for sharing that. I'm glad that we
you're
talked
welcome.
about that. If people want to stay connected to you, what do you recommend? Like, are you on Instagram, Facebook? How can people connect with you? Take
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. So my Instagram is at Asia C Dance, just like you kind of see it written down right there. And for belly dance, not for belly dance, for Facebook, it's /Asia C Dance.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This was a great conversation. Thanks for sharing
Yeah,
with
thank you.
us. And you're obviously like you're a part of our community now. So I hope everyone is able to connect with you.
Yeah, this was amazing. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Let's see.